¿Qué pasa, mi amigos? Nima here. So, I had two games that I really needed to play. One of them being Imp of the Sun, and the other one being the big, epic game that is Kirby's Forgotten Land. Well, I started playing Imp of the Sun yesterday, put in quite a bit of time, and then today Kirby came out, and I decided to put in my time with Kirby. Well, I played about an hour of Kirby, and then I went back to Imp of the Sun. I'm going to discuss why here in a second, but first, I want to remind you guys to please hit that like and subscribe button. I truly appreciate you and everything that we're doing here on this channel. I hope we hit 200 subs here pretty soon. That's just going to be awesome. We've been active for only 7 months, and look what we're doing with this channel. Anyway, guys, back to Imp of the Sun and why I preferred playing it over Kirby. So, one thing I've noticed as I've been reviewing games, not only has my respect and love gone up for Metroidvania 2D platformer style games, but also my love and respect for indie developers and the work they put in. You see, when you play like Kirby and Forgotten Land, it looks great, right? The graphics are phenomenal. There's usually some kind of cool mechanics, and they have the lore and the Nintendo that we remember it back in the golden age. But what they don't have is heart and soul. They don't have like this all-encompassing story that you can just, you can see the blood, sweat, and tears that were put into the game. And I don't blame Nintendo, and I'm not going after Kirby or anything. Look, I get it when you have 80,000 people involved in a game, and you have people who are saying, you know, this game doesn't look very Nintendo. We need it to be more Nintendo, without actually saying what that means or what that is. And then you have a gauntlet of people who are testing it and want to make sure it comes off the way that they specifically want it, and you get all these talking heads in the area, and you're just going to end up with mess. As where with the indie companies, they usually have smaller groups of teams, and they have more of a direction of which way they want to go with it. And so they're able to convey that a lot better. And I can say, like, without a doubt, that that's exactly what the team over at Sun Wolf Entertainment was able to do when they were working on Imp of the Sun. And this game does so much culturally and artistically. You can tell the stylistic way that they kind of bring back that spark of like the people of the sun, the Nazca people, with that like ancient Peruvian artistic style that they use, not only in the art but also in the music as well, which is amazing. The music is so uplifting in the game. Like as you're going into a boss fight or you're just exploring a new area, that music really amps you up and gets you pumped to continue on this massive adventure. So as I spoke of the people of the sun and that whole idea, in Imp of the Sun, you actually play as the sun's last spark, and your job is to restore the sun's power. There's been an eclipse for quite a long time, and the world is going into chaos and unfortunately going to end soon. So it is you who has to bring back this power back to the sun and to ensure that the world does not end. So much of this game, though, has so much of the story not hidden, but it's something that you discover as you go, and I don't want to ruin that for too many people because there's just so much with this game that I hate to say it, but the story almost takes a backseat, and it shouldn't. But it is a very deep and an interesting story that I think follows a lot of lore and tradition and things of that nature that I just find really cool and interesting, not only from my own heritage, but just from a cultural understanding of a different people, a different group. I love it. That's all I can say. Further than that, though, the thing is, most like Metroidvania games, I don't really love, and I'll tell you why. Two things. Basic fighting skills, like, they're not too deep into those elements, and navigation. I can't stand the way that in a lot of games like the Metroidvania style games, I get lost. And it seems ridiculous to me that I would get lost in a game that has such a small map or has very few options, but it still seems to happen. Now, I'd like to report that with Imp of the Sun, that is not the case. For one, the battle mechanics and the skill tree and the ability to level up is huge. You can upgrade a lot of things, from the amount of health you have to the amount of damage you do per attack. Also in a roundabout way, your ability to heal yourself. And this is one of the few like Metroidvania 2D platformer games I've seen where you can heal yourself. And not to mention that, you also have all the tons of different skill options you have, whether you want to be an aerial fighter or like more of a ground and pound kind of fighter. Now, if all that sounds like this game is easy, It's not. Even with the ability to self-heal and with the ability to raise your levels up, this game is still brutally hard. And I mean that in probably the best sense possible, because it gives me that, I hate to say it, but that Elden Ring style kind of feelings about it, because you can keep going and you'll reach like a boss, or you'll reach an area where the enemies are just too hard. But lo and behold, there's always somewhere else you can go, and you can grind and you can level up and get your character even stronger, go back to that area, and it's not as difficult. The game just seems to direct you in the appropriate way. I've yet to get lost. I have yet to have any problems where I just wasn't sure where to go. My biggest issue, honestly, with this game has been the fact that I play it far longer than I mean to. I'll sit down and I'm only going to play for an hour or so, and I'll end up playing for 2 or 3 hours. And that instance of like, okay, I think I can beat this boss. I think I can perform this jump, and trying over and over and over until I get it. And that sense of accomplishment is just what keeps me glued into this game, as well as the incredibly rich story, the amazing NPCs, and that awesome music, like I said. Now, there's only like one negative I can really think about this game, but before I get into that, I do want to say something. The graphics. The graphics are beautiful in this game. For it being an indie game, and honestly a game I hadn't really heard of, it was actually Switchforce who brought this game up, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, I have to pick it up. But the graphics are outstanding. It looks amazing. But the only downside is, I would say the controls they're not perfect. and I know that's like asking a lot if you want everything to be perfect, and as I've outlined, the game is really, really good. The only and the controls still, they don't disappoint. I just think there are a few times when they could be just a little bit tighter, and namely in combat. There's some instances where an enemy will come at you and you'll attack, and it seems like you hit it at the right time, but the enemy hits you, and part of that is, I'm not sure if it's the character's reach, or if it's the animation, or if it's the controls. But there seems to sometimes be just a tad bit of a lag, but it's not really a problem at all, and nothing that's infuriating or frustrating or senses you to want to quit playing or anything like that. In fact, the controls I would probably give an 8 out of 10, just because of those few times that I have a little bit of lag or something of that nature. But aside from that, this game is amazing, and it is definitely my game of the week. It beats Kirby and its 7-hour campaign. Again, nothing against Kirby, it's just this game is better. That's all I can say. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for checking out my channel. I appreciate you. You have a great day.